Brickyard 400! Just the brick, baby!
When did you know that you really had it?
I didn't know until I got the checkered flag.
This weekend, downtown Indianapolis, the center of the racing world, because just a few miles west in the tiny town of Speedway is the most famous racetrack in the world. The size, the history, the chance for these drivers to win at the track where their racing heroes did before. 1 yard of bricks from the original track surface remain, and they run across the track under the pagoda out to where we are sitting in the Fan Plaza. And the fans are certainly ready. Hello, everyone. Chris Devoto alongside drivers Kyle Petty, two-time Brickyard winner Dale Jarrett. And for these drivers, the Xfinity Series, It's just been the last few years that they've had an opportunity like this. They used to race across town. What does it mean to these drivers, whether you're 18 or 42 like we have in the field?
It's huge. I think we used to go to Daytona, and Daytona was the place we wanted to be. Indy is not quite the Daytona for me yet, but it's still a big place. And these guys, when we first come, we had no one to shoot at. There was no Cup guy that had been here before. Now these guys look at it and they say, my hero, Dale Jarrett, my hero, Jeff Gordon. I grew up watching these guys. I get to race on the same racetrack. It's a big deal.
Yeah, they understand the history of this, the most famous speedway there is in the entire world. Now they have that opportunity to come here, and it doesn't matter what you're racing in. You want to win, you want to perform, give it your very best. And I think today we're going to have the opportunity to see something totally different than maybe what we've seen here in the Xfinity Series in the past. We've got some rule changes, and if we go by yesterday's final practice, we're in for some pretty exciting racing.
And Junior Motorsports, the drivers who race for Dale Earnhardt Jr. have been so strong already. There's 4 of them. They all start in the top 5. So expect to see Elliott Sadler, Michael Lynette, Justin Allgaier, William Byron up front. Elliott Sadler is on the pole. And a win here today means more than just points and playoff. Those, of course, are still in play with only 9 regular season races to go. Let's take a look at our race to Miami. Today's race, as DJ talked about, those new rules changes, including the use of restrictor plates. Now, Parker Kligerman is going to get in depth for us. We'll have more on that in just a bit. But Kyle Busch, aiming for his 3rd straight trip to victory lane here at the Brickyard, he has some climbing to do. He will start 11th. As for the Xfinity Series regulars, their push for the playoffs continues. Just 3 drivers have secured a playoff berth with a win, meaning 9 spots remain open. Let's look at the Xfinity playoff picture. 4 of the 16 drivers listed here, listen to this, they've never raced at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Among those 4, the driver who leads the series in playoff points, 19-year-old William Byron. He's with Marty Snyder.
And Chris, I think it's so much fun to come here. We all appreciate the history here at Indianapolis, but to see it from a young man's point of view, coming here for the very first time. William went through the tunnel for the first time yesterday. So what is that feeling like coming through this tunnel for the first time when you see this massive facility?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just an incredible feeling to be here at Indy and make my first start. And just to make laps around the place is really cool. So just great to be here. Excited about our race car. I think we've got a really strong race car. So hopefully that makes for a good day.
So that begs the question, how does one get ready for Indianapolis when you've never even seen a place like this? There's nothing that really replicates Indianapolis.
No, the corners are flat and long straightaways and narrow on the front straightaway. So it's definitely different, but you know, it's really historic and it makes for an exciting race, I think. This new aero package is going to be interesting. And so at least for me, making my first start, it's new for everybody. So I think that's good for me.
Well, Chris, he's already added a Daytona win to the resume in his rookie season. What if he could add a Brickyard win? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it, for the 19-year-old out of Charlotte?
Absolutely. Talk about stepping up at the big races. You know, Byron, not the only one racing with, I guess you'd say, butterflies. There are 9 drivers in the field who have never raced here, including Custer, Hemrick, Tift. So, DJ, how daunting is that for them?
You know, I don't think it's as much as when we first showed up here to race, because they've seen this. They know that the cars race here now, and a little more what to expect. But I don't care. If you've never been here like William Byron was talking about, and you get out on the racetrack, I don't care what simulation you've done, been in anything, there's nothing like seeing that. And as they get fans in the stands, that closes in a little bit more. So I think it's more trying to keep their emotions in check because they understand the importance of trying to go to victory lane here today. They might not be old enough to remember remember some of them when we first started
Yes.
here, but they're outstanding drivers, and we have 3 of those drivers that have never seen this place that are starting in the top 7. So it just shows that young drivers don't care. Just get me behind the wheel of a good car.
I don't think a lot of these guys were born when we came here the first time, and we still look at it as a new track on the Cup circuit. But I want to go to something that Elliott Sadler said after he won the pole here. He talked about he had to unlearn a lot of habits when he first went out, that he looked at places on the wall, he looked at things where he used to let off. He had to run wide open. The way the package is right now, you run flat-footed around this racetrack. He had to unlearn and then learn. William Byron, these young guys, they just went out and run wide open right off the bat. So there's a lot of validity to coming here for the first time and not knowing what you don't know. They just know how to race.
And I love seeing these images of these drivers talking with fans, especially young kids. This is right before they're about to climb in their race car and drive at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 250 miles. Love Brendan Gaughan, always a crowd favorite. You know, this is the point in the show when we would usually say hi to Rutledge Wood, but he's off on an adventure.
Knee deep in the water somewhere, got Rick Allen looking for bricks in a creek. Woo! Are you having a good time?
Absolutely.
I mean, look at you.
We got another
Tall drink of water like you. Look at that. You're holding history.
Rutledge, where exactly were you, and what do we have in store?
Well, Krista, you know, the year was 1909 when they covered the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with 3.2 million bricks. And over the years, you know, they started to pull them up. They do some paving. And Rick told me that the day before he had been golfing with Ty Dillon. Ty hopped out on the golf course and took off his shoes and socks. He got in the creek and dug up a brick. So I thought, Rick, we should go out there. So we're standing here, you know, like you guys said, this is where all the drivers come by, but we did a little digging, and look what we found. In that creek, we found one of the original bricks. Hi, Elliott. Thank you. Congratulations on the pole. We found one of these from Culver Block. You can see the patent was 1909. The crazy thing is, though, when you talk about history here at Indy, you see these fans here. Elliott got the pole. Like, everything that happens just reminds you how huge this place is, how much history there is, and the fact that albeit we snuck in. Thank you. I'm working on that hair. I'll get that. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. We got the pole in Indy.
What does that mean? You have time to hang then if they're going to say your name last.
They might, but you're doing such a good job with the brick. You're doing great. I don't want to mess it up. But the hair looks beautiful.
Thank you. You're a good friend. That's really nice. But Kyle, the crazy thing is you've played on that golf course before, Brickyard Crossing. Who knew you could just go over there in the creek and dig around, which may or may not have been allowed. So thank you to the nice ranger that we met, and Rick talked us out of getting in trouble.
And I have to say, Rutledge, the times I played there, I was in the creek. So, yes, I may have seen a brick or two while I was over there.
That's for sure. You guys know there is history everywhere here. Sometimes you just got to get out of the golf cart, get barefoot, and almost cut your feet on glass to find it.
If I only knew it were that simple, I drove my tail off for 800 miles around here twice to get those bricks, and there they are over in a creek.
So we learned to ask for forgiveness, not permission. And the good news for Rutledge, Elliott's on the pole, so he's the last driver to go by. So probably the last driver to mess with Rutledge, at least in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, for the next little bit.
All right, so can't wait to see what we have coming up. And as DJ talked about, we also have Parker's going to tell us about those rules. What does that mean to the racing? Why are we possibly in store for a better show than ever? And why could that possibly be bad for Kyle Busch? Yes, a golf course inside this massive 2.5-mile track. So much to talk about as we get you ready to race. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion, now available on your mobile device. Select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. You can even watch multiple angles at once. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com Drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. There are the cars ready to go, and in practice yesterday, they were moving and shaking. The buzz was big, and unlike Daytona and Talladega, drivers here encouraged to lock bumpers. Why, and what does it mean for what you're about to see? Let's bring in Parker Kligerman for some more details.
Thanks, Krista. And actually, after a test a couple months ago, NASCAR mandated this rules package, going back to the large spoiler here. About 200 pounds more downforce with this large spoiler that we used to run last year with these dog ear extensions than the low downforce small spoiler we see normally these days. And as we go to the front of the car up here, we're going to get under the hood. There's a restrictor plate under there, taking about 225 horsepower away from these race cars. And then all the way to the front up here, you see this long splitter, a lot larger than the low downforce package we have right now, adding about 250 pounds of downforce. And then right above it, right there. This is the innovation of the year in the Xfinity Series at Indy, and that is the air duct. It is allowing air to pass through. As you see right there, you're not allowed to block it. None of the teams are allowed to work with it at all. This is given to the teams by NASCAR this weekend, and then the air actually comes out in front of the tire on both sides, and that adds about 25% more drag to the car. So the effort here through all these changes was to punch a big hole in the air for the trailing car to get a run in a big draft and make a pass.
Hey, Parker, with all of those changes, obviously it's very clear it's what the restrictor plate does. It taking all of that horsepower away. You see the rear spoiler is going to slow it down the straightaway. What are the drivers saying about those air ducts in the front?
Well, DJ, it's good that good question, because there's a lot of different opinions. And one of the best opinions I got was talking to a couple of drivers about the side draft that we talk about so often at the speedways and such. But with these air ducts, the way the air is being shoved out of the front tire and around the car, the side draft is completely changed this weekend. And so drivers are learning on the fly this whole new form of drafting, a new way of the air moving around these race cars. And so no one's really sure exactly what they're going to experience, but a lot of them have said it's definitely a difference from anything they've ever experienced.
Thank you, Parker. Great job. I know you're getting ready for the race. And really what this means to a fan watching at home, we have the potential for more side-by-side, closer racing. And does this even the playing field? I mean, Kyle Busch has always run away with this race.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what Jason Burdett, the crew chief for Justin Allgaier, told me yesterday. He said, we showed up here last year in the first practice. At the end of that, we were 1 second slower than what Kyle Busch was. He said, we got here yesterday, and this was yesterday we were talking. He said, we showed up today, we're running the same lap times. So it's even the playing field. But what we're going to see, yeah, it's not going to be pack racing like Daytona and Talladega, but we're going to see closer racing, KP.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Well, hey, listen, I let Dale sort of say everything he wanted to say, because we're going to lose him. He's going upstairs. If you want to see what Dale's going to do, you need to tune into the race. Kyle and I are going to stick around, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Dakota Armstrong. The 26-year-old grew up nearby. We're going to hear what he thinks about racing at the place he dreamed about. No question, a big day, but it's a big day today, too, because one Xfinity Series playoff contender, as you see the playoff standings there, is back home again in Indiana. The names in yellow, the only ones who have advanced with wins. Dakota Armstrong hoping to add his name to that list. He grew up 50 miles east of Indy in the town of Newcastle. He is ready to race at his home track, and he's with our Dave Burns.
And Krista, he is an unashamed Indiana boy, a Jeff Gordon fan, Tony Stewart fan, Ryan Newman fan growing up, and you got to come here from age 5. So what's it mean to race here?
It's crazy. I mean, it's just every time we come here, you know, this place is just different. Just everyone knows the history of it, and just growing up in Indiana, I'm probably a little biased. Just always want to do good here. So every time it's a little shocking when you get out there the first time. It's so different too of a track. So it's just awesome to be here. I'm really excited.
And Dakota, you've never made the playoffs, and so this race is important in that picture as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have to do everything we can to, you know, tidy up those points and make sure we're, you know, doing as good as we can. This place is kind of a wild card now with the new package too, so we don't really know how the race is going to go, but we just know we got to finish and we got to do whatever we can. So didn't get the qualifying effort we really wanted, so already kind of starting from behind, so a little bit of strategy is going to be needed to kind of get to that front, and really we just got to see what happens those first 30 laps to kind of play out for the rest of the race.
So Chris, a little more on the line for Dakota this weekend, but still an Indiana boy at an Indiana track. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely, and I'm sure soaking in every moment right now, riding around the track there as he gets ready to race. And, you know, he kind of grew up, Kyle, in the IndyCar open wheel spotlight, because Newcastle, home to a go-kart track where a lot of IndyCar drivers got their start. We know Connor Daly is here hanging out watching the NASCAR race today. But no question, if you grew up in Indiana, this place is special.
Yeah, if you grew up in Indiana, most of the people that grew up here were midgets and sprint cars and open wheel kind of guys. That's what they believed in. So it's always been, I think honestly, Jeff Gordon coming from Indiana opened the doors for a lot of people. And a lot of people claim that Jeff Gordon grew up in their hometown, so let me be clear about that. Could be California too, but it opened the door for a lot of people. Tony Stewart, guys like that. And it opened their eyes to say, let's go to NASCAR. Dakota has done a great job. He's been here 3 or 4 years. He's gotten better every year, and he's in a great position. Like he says, we just got to tidy up our points and do what we know we can do.
We're going to let Pittsboro, Indiana, claim Jeff Gordon today because we're only a few miles away. And when we come back, we're going to get you ready to go racing. No question, the cars owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr. have been strong. Elliott Sadler on the pole. We're getting close to today's race. We'll wrap things up next. Catch all the action in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s final season on NBC and NBCSN, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Download the NBC Sports app to get you closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, full exclusive access around the track, available on all devices. No question, there are some wins that define a career. This would be one of them. To win at the track synonymous with racing's greatest drivers is on the mind of everyone racing today.
I remember going to Indy for the first time last year. There's just something special when you turn out and you pull out and go down pit road and you see the grandstands and you drive over those bricks at the start-finish line that make Indy just really, really cool and special.
You know, Indianapolis Motor Speedway is one of those iconic racetracks that people all over the world travel to come see just because they know the history of it and the names that have come before.
Dale Earnhardt has won the second Brickyard 400.
I've never seen a race there, but it'd be really cool to get a win there at Indy and hopefully make our season really special.
Checker flag in the Brickyard 400 to Jeff Gordon.
To win at Indy, I mean, that's the iconic racetrack in America. And the list of names that are on the list that have won there, to add my name to that would be just unbelievable.
Tony Stewart, a native Hoosier, his dream comes true. Tony Stewart wins the All-State 400 at the Brickyard.
Indy's another place a lot like Daytona. When you drive up, you feel the history. You know, you can just see it, and the greatest drivers ever have raced there.
Just the emotion, so special. And this is what it's all about. One driver gets to basically make out with a yard of bricks. How about that for a sell?
So that's what you're driving for. How about that for a selling point? You know, this could make a career for so many guys like Cole Custer, like Matt Tiff, like Ben Kennedy. We saw Ty Dillon win this race, his first race, and win it, and the emotion for it from himself and Austin and his granddad, Richard Childers. But I go back to Brendan Gaughan, Justin Allgaier, guys who have been here so many times, and especially Elliott Sadler, our guy that's on the pole. I go to him. The disappointment that he had here a few years ago. Could see Victory Lane, could see the trophy, could see that it was his, and because of a call, it was taken away. To come back and redeem himself today with a pole and redeem himself with a win would be so big for Elliott Sadler. So I think there's so many storylines out here.
And something we haven't talked about, the heat. I mean, it does seem like, it's hard to say this, but a little bit cooler than we normally have. But these cars with the new rules sealed up, we could see some drivers affected by that.
With the aero package, the big spoiler, the way they're moving the air around, we heard Dale Jarrett talk about the aero package and the side draft, and he and Parker Kligerman. I think the air is going to be different. It's going to be hot in these cars. These cars are designed to keep air out of them. They're designed to get air over them and to go fast.
And those new rules could mean trouble for the guy who has dominated this event the last few years, Kyle Busch. Today, not only are the others gunning for him, they have the weapon to make it happen. Whose dream comes true with a win at the sport's most famous track? We will see you after the race when we return. Rick Allen, Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, and Dale Jarrett take over for the most famous track in the world.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the world's most famous track. This afternoon, the drivers of the Xfinity Series take to the asphalt with the hope of ending their day with a kiss of the bricks. Kyle Busch has won this race the past 2 years, and he comes off a dominating victory last week in New Hampshire. 19-year-old William Byron is racing on this iconic track for the first time. He will be seeking his third victory of the season. It's time for the Lilly Diabetes 250. Hello, everyone. Alongside Hall of Famer, two-time Brickyard 400 winner, and the starter of a tradition, which I think might be the biggest as far as the way I can describe you, Dale Jarrett. I'm Rick Allen. But you started the tradition of kissing the bricks at this racetrack, and it's not just stock cars. It's not just NASCAR now. It's everybody who races here.
Yeah, pretty cool to think that we did that, just kind of off of something that we decided we would do something different here whenever we won here in 1996. But today it's about one of these Xfinity drivers hoping to go to Victory Lane, maybe for their first time ever here. Now, it's a difficult racetrack, but as you just pointed out, it's the world's most famous racetrack, and that's what gets these drivers going. The opportunity not only to race here, but to possibly visit a Victory Lane that they've seen a lot of their heroes go there.
Yeah, we have to say that Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, they would be the favorites. Kyle Busch has won here the last 2 years, but there's some guys from Junior Motorsports that are looking very impressive that start in front of him.
Yeah, 4 of the top 5 are starting there. It's all 4 of those cars that they have at Junior Motorsports. Certainly Elliott Sadler being on the pole. Now, this is a veteran that dearly wants to win this race. He's run well here in the past. He's run well here in the Cup car. Just doesn't have that victory to show for it yet, and that's what he wants to do. So is it crazy for us to think that these guys might team up and could actually beat Kyle Busch at this racetrack? Well, yeah, but that might be exactly what it takes, is teaming up. We've got new packages here, a lot of things in play, and drafting is going to be a big part of it. Can they work together to keep that 18 car from going to victory lane?
Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, they are here. They are in the Stock Car Smarts booth, which is right next door.
Well, thanks, Rick. We don't have all those great titles, Hall of Famers and Brickyard champions, but Jeff and I have enjoyed our weekend here so far, and we've enjoyed it because I'm not sure there is a favorite, Jeff. What we've seen on track so far for this Xfinity Series has been crazy even during practice.
We don't know what to expect in this race. The only thing we know is if we watched Happy Hour yesterday, this was fun to watch. This is the kind of racing that NASCAR is known for. It has not been what we've seen from this Xfinity race at this racetrack. So NASCAR made some changes to these cars, Steve, to make more passing, to be able to draft up, to make this a NASCAR-style race at this racetrack.
Well, and how they did it? With this. And we will explain this in the next segment, Rick, and we'll show you what it does.
We look forward to it. That's why it's called Stock Car Smarts, because you're going to explain that to us. Let's get things started with our pre-race ceremonies. We go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that at this time you please rise and remove your hats as the Indiana National Guard Joint Services presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Indiana National Guard Chaplain Clifford Popp offers today's invocation.
Lord God, we thank you for the beautiful day you provided for us to enjoy today's race here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We pray for safety for the drivers on the track, for the crew members in the pit, and a blessing on everybody associated with this race. We ask especially for safety and protection for the men and women serving our armed forces who are away from their families at this time. Lord, thank you for every good and perfect gift you give us according to your will. And all God's people said, amen.
Race fans, here to perform our national anthem. Please welcome Corey Cox.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Drivers ready to climb into their cars. This could be the biggest race of their lives if they win at Indianapolis.